Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey. Welcome to episode 284, and I am gonna get a new keyboard. The keyboard that I have, it just I never really got, I never really was a fan of it. So it's time for me to upgrade. And it's time for me to get into something better. And so the last couple of days, I've been doing some research, and what I found is that this one keyboard is called the um, Artura Keylab MK3, and the shit you can do with it, how it integrates with your DAW system, man, and it's like I can't wait to get it. And I was so juiced about it that I thought the local guitar center had it. I misunderstood that you had to order it from the website and then like they ship it to the store. But I'm gonna get into that later on. But so I showed up yesterday looking for the keyboard, and it wasn't there. Right? No big deal. Whatever. Anyway, um, in this episode, man, what I want to talk about is and I've been having this conversation a lot with people, right? Relationships, right? Um, and I was even talking to my therapist about it, and I said that I s- and last week I had gone out with this girl. I went out with her. I went out with her yesterday too. Um, and like so, me and my therapist were talking, and she asked me like, "Oh, so what's the verdict on her?" I was like, "Oh no," I'm like, "The jury's still out because I've only been out with her once. I don't know yet." And but I know she likes me, just by her behavior and her mannerisms and everything, right? Um, and I'm not the type of dude to dwell on past relationships too long anyway. Um, I take the lessons that I take from them, and I leave what doesn't apply to me, right? And what's crazy is that twice the topic of kids have came up, and she's younger than me, by a couple years. And I said, like, I said, like, hey, look, I said, if kids happen, great. If they don't happen, that's fine too. I'm not out here trying to like, create baby mamas just to have a baby. That's crazy to me, right? And it's wild because it's like, yo, like I'm kind of old school with it too. Like, if we get pregnant, we gonna get married, or and that's what it's interesting to me too. Is like I see a lot of these people, preferably, they're divorced single moms or whatnot. Got a kid or kids, from a dude who ain't shit, and it's like, bro, you really can't sit there and blame him. It's like it's also your responsibility too, and it is. I hate when women blame the man, like, oh, it's the man's fault. It's this, is that, and it's like no, it's both your fault. And I was talking to a coworker of mine, and I told him, I was like, bro, it's gonna sound cliche because he's about 10 years younger than me, and he's talking about relationships too and everything. And he was like, bro, I got this, I got that. Like, when do I find time to fit a relationship? And I'm like, bro, you don't. He's like, what? He's like, you. I'm like, you don't. And he's like, huh? I was like, yeah. I was like, as cliche as this shit is gonna sound, man. It's like a relationship. A relationship happens when you're not even looking for it. Like, that's the crazy part, right? And he was like, what? That don't make any sense. I was like, bro, like, as you get older, you'll realize what I'm talking about, bro. Because, like him, I didn't know what the fuck that meant, at 26, 27, and I didn't. And as I've gotten older and I've gotten wiser and I've gotten more hip to the game, and like you just got to put yourself out there, bro. You know what I mean? It's like, I remember when we took dude to the strip club, and I was like, bro, same guy, right? For his birthday, and he never been to a strip club. I was like, bro, you gotta go. So all of us went one weekend, a bunch of people from work, and so So we all went, and and I told him, I was like, bro, if you can talk to a girl who takes off her clothes for a living, you know, imagine what you can do with, with an actual girl who wants to date you for you, who wants to see you for you. And he was like, what? And I was like, bro, think about it. It's like you have to put yourself in positions, on situations, on social situations where you have to talk. Like you have to talk. Like you have to have that confidence, that. And like some people, look, I think some people are born with it, bro. Some majority of people probably have to work their way to it. It's like I remember growing up, I was so insecure because I wore leg braces. They used to call them UFOs. It took me a minute to understand, like, okay, yo, you're never gonna walk normal. You always gonna walk with a limp. You're gonna have an abnormal gait. People gonna look at you weird. But you know what you can do, my boy? And this is why I gotta thank my dad for that, man. It's like you can work on your confidence, put yourself out there, and it takes a while, dog. Like I didn't really break out of my shell until I was maybe like 23, 24. And I didn't really have my first real relationship until I was like 26, 27. So, but I developed the confidence to talk to women, right? I mean, it's like I can talk to girls in any type of setting. You take me to the strip club, the beach, whatever it is, bro. Like, like I can definitely have you thinking certain things, before I leave the spot. And so with that being said, man, I told him, I was like, dog, it's like you just have to understand that it's okay to like not have everything figured out, bro. Nobody has his life shit figured out. And that's what I want to talk about in this podcast, man. This podcast episode is like, I think a lot of people, they're so stressed, but like, oh yeah, I gotta have X, Y, and Z figured out. I'm like, why? Like, what you mean, why? And I'm like, yeah, why do you need to have it figured out? Like, what is the what's why is it so pressing for you, right? And I think a lot of people, they just, the older you get, the more trauma, the more drama you've been through, the more hurt you've been through, right? And it's particularly true for for people who have kids or people who've gone through a divorce. Because excuse me, I've seen it firsthand where it's like I've had women tell me like, yo, I don't trust men. I don't trust their intentions, X, Y, and Z. And I literally tell them, it's like, yo, it's not men that you trust. You don't trust yourself. Because the last person that you got involved with, they fucked you over. And I think that, to me, that's crazy how people will unknowingly carry trauma and all this other shit into something else, into something new, and it's like, but you can't do that. It's not fair to that other person. And my therapist said, and I've been going to therapy for about a couple months now, and she's like, yeah, like, and like she's asking about my past relationships too, and I was like, I dated a few girls in college, had a college girlfriend, but that was a long time ago. And it was a long time ago. Shit, come to think about it, I was like, what, like, I graduated college late. I graduated when I was like 26, so maybe like 25. Yeah, so you figure that's like 12, 13 years ago. And the topic of loneliness came up, right? And I told my therapist, like, yo, I don't have a problem being alone. I'm not lonely. I prefer to be by myself, majority of the time I am. And like, to me, like, Like, and when she's like, what? It's like, yeah, it's like, if I wanted people around me, I can go get that. You know, I can go call up my friends or whatever it is, and then we can just link up and hang out. Anyway, to get back to that girl, uh, it was interesting, man. How we met actually was through online dating. I forgot that I had a profile that was active, and I just made it for shits and giggles. I wasn't really gonna take it seriously. But the one thing about me is like I'm gonna be transparent as fuck. You know, like I'm gonna disclose everything. You know, physical disability, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada, because I don't want to be that person. Be like, oh well, but like he's cute, but he didn't tell me this. So anyway, the first night we went out, it was last week. It was a Sunday. It was a week ago, and she just wanted to hang out. But I'm like, where the hell are we gonna go? It's like, you know, it's graduation night and like most places are closed. And so we ended up just meeting up at this one spot. And then we went to this mom and pop place down the street. It's got burgers and fries. And I could tell she liked me. You know, the conversation was flowing, whatever. And like, she's ambitious. I'm ambitious. She's not just talking about her goals, she's actually going after them, which is refreshing because it's like most women love to talk about what they want to do, but they don't want to put in the work for that. And to me, it's like I can't rock with that because it's like I'm looking at it like, okay, it's whatever. And it is. I think that's like the most interesting thing. That to meet somebody who, you know, who's not only talking about what they want to do, but they're actively having the steps towards it, you know. Whereas most women that I deal with or that I used to deal with, like they talk about X, Y, and Z, but in reality, it's like they haven't done the basic bare, you know, bare minimum. They haven't done the research. And like how I look at that is like it's refreshing because it's like, oh, it's like instead of somebody sitting there complaining like, oh yeah, I want to do X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada, whoop de whoop, and it's like not only have I ended romantic relationships off that, I've ended friendships off that. You know, people are like, what? They're like, yeah, like I'm like, we're not gonna sit here and talk about your goals every fucking 6 months or every year. Or I'm not gonna sit here and listen to your excuses as to why you can't go get it done. You know, I used to have this one friend. I was like, yo, it's like, don't you think it's kind of strange that you know people who have the same goals as you do, and they crush their goals, and their situation is worse than yours? And she was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah. Like, don't you think it's kind of strange that you have quote unquote friends that you know that have accomplished the same goals that you have, and their situation is worse than yours? And of course she called me a hater and whatnot, called me not supportive. I'm like, nah, I'm like, I am being supportive by calling you out, you know? And I wish a lot of people would stop with that. Oh, well, so-and-so's not supportive, so-and-so's not this. It's like, no, so-and-so doesn't want to hear your bullshit. That's a difference. Anyway, so we was talking, and we ended up. A funny thing is, I wasn't gonna go on a date. My homegirl had to talk me into going on a date because it's like the back of my mind, I was like, man, nigga, it's like 10 o'clock, like you know, like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'm like, she could be trying to bank your ass, possible. And I was like, bet. So I wasn't gonna go. So I called my homegirl, and she was telling me, I'm telling her the story, and she was like, boy, you better go. This girl she's probably got all dressed up to see your goofy ass. You better fucking go. What the fuck wrong with you, right? She's like, get off my phone and go on your date. And so I was like, all right, cool. All right. I was like, all right, I'll go. I ended up going. I ended up having a great time. So I called my homegirl after that, and she texted me back. And I was like, And she's like, yo, you good? I'm like, yo, call me back. So she calls me back. And then we ended up talking about the situation, right? We ended up just talking about the date. And she was telling me like, oh, X, Y, and Z, are you going to see her again? I was like, yeah, like, yeah, I want to. And we ended up yesterday, and this is what I love, bro. It's it's the simple shit, right? It's like I think, yeah, yesterday we had gone to Barnes and Nobles. I didn't know Barnes and Nobles existed. I thought Barnes and Nobles shut down. And so she bought a book. I bought a book. I have a really bad habit of buying books. I buy books all the fucking time. um, anyway, so it's the book that I bought. It's Sam Smith and somebody else's. It's conversational topics are from the top 75 players of all time, which is kind of cool. So, like, I'm looking to dive into that. But I also bought another book off Amazon. It's called The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur. So it was like I said, I have like 13 books that a nigga has to read. Anyway, and so I wanted to test drive the new keyboard I'm talking about getting. And I figured, okay, like it says Guitar Center has it. Or but I misread it. What it was, it's like they deliver it to the store. They don't have that particular model, which is fine, whatever. You know, it's not a big deal. Cause it's not. So anyway, we drive there and she's following me, you know, and and it we were just vibing. She's asking me like, hey, like, did you find what you need? I was like, nah, like they don't have it. So you know, and I said like, oh, I think I have to order it from the website and then ship it to the store. Cause like I was looking for that particular model, and they didn't have it, which is fine. I mean, it's like not a big deal. I was just looking for ways to extend me spending time with it, right? And so get back to the crib. So and and I'm texting her like, hey, I just made it home. Thank you for spending time with me. You know, X, Y, and Z. And then she goes, well, you know, and then she loved the message and she said, oh yeah, you know, well, like, thank you for spending time with me too. I enjoyed the time we spent together. Yada yada yada. Whoop de whoop. And I said like, look, yeah, you know, I enjoyed the time we spent together too. Like, and I told her like, look, I'm gonna just be honest. I like you, and I want to spend more time with you. And then she's like, that's, you know, she's like, same. I said, okay, cool. You know, and it's like, it's really that simple, bro. And it's like, I remember my younger self, I would sit there and try to chase after women and X, Y, and Z. And it's like women who didn't want me for whatever reason. And it's like, now it's like, okay, it's like, yo, it's like, sometimes you gotta go through the bullshit, you know, just to weed out the motherfuckers like who aren't meant for you, right? You know, and what I mean by that, I'm not saying that they bad people, but it's like sometimes, man, when you try to force something, man, and it just doesn't work, it's like, yo, that's the universe telling you to stop, you know, that's the universe telling you to, you know, just to leave shit alone, and you should, excuse me, like if you have to bang and you know try to figure out somebody's schedule, yada yada yada, it's like, yo, it's like no, it's like it is what it is. And it's like I said, it's like I don't like people who talk about their goals that just talk about their shit. I was like, no, it's like if we're gonna do something, if we're gonna make it happen, then you have to have the ability to what you gonna call to follow through. Because even if it's something small and like you don't follow through, and I'm like, yo, like how you gonna handle everything else? It's like you can't even follow through on your goals, or like you don't even want to follow through on like what you said you're gonna do. And a lot of people call me a hater for that, but I'm like, yo, I'm not being a hater. I'm holding them accountable, because who wants to deal with somebody who just constantly talks about what they're gonna do and they don't do nothing at all? And people are like, what? I was like, yeah. It's like you have to realize who you're dealing with, bro. Like, you know, and you have to realize that talk is cheap. And it's like, because I know people my age and older who talk about what they're gonna do X, Y, and Z, but they don't fucking do it. And I'm like, yo, it's like, okay, but how do you explain X, Y, and Z? Oh yeah, you can't. You know, how do you explain you not chasing your goals? Oh yeah, you can't. You know, and it's like at the end of the day, it's while it sucks, you know, that's the reality of it, right? Like you don't sit there and just like create a situation where um your needs isn't met, you know, and it's like it's it's really strange. It's low key sad for the most part, and I think people who do that shit, who talk about what they want to do, is like they just love to talk about their ambitions, their goals, but they have no moxie to hit them, no moxie to complete them, you know. But going back to my coworker, like me and him were having a conversation, and I said, bro, you know, and so I sent him this reel, and about this girl talking about how you know when to leave a woman alone and when to do X, Y, and Z, right? and and he responded back by saying like, oh, like I guess I gotta move on. And I'm like, yeah, bro, like if she's making excuses and shit, man, it's like why would you want to be around somebody who does that? You know, why would you want to be around somebody who's always too busy for you, right? You know, and most of the time it's like when you're dealing with women like that, it's like you already know what the deal is. You know, it's not hard to figure out. It's not hard to be like, oh yeah, you know, X, Y, and Z. It's not. And when you find out people are like that, bro, just leave them be. Like stop thinking that it has to be like you know, or if I try harder, um, maybe she'll like me. No, she won't. No, he won't. No, they won't. They won't like you if you try harder. You look like a fucking fool. It's like I run across this meme years ago. I don't know if I saved it to my phone or wherever it is. But the meme was talk I guess it was like this older brother and a younger sibling. And the older brother dropping his sibling off to school. And like, you know, and like sibling is talking about like, oh, this girl that he likes, whatever it is. And then the older sibling goes, okay, what you gonna do if she rejects you? And he's like, well, I'm gonna try harder. And he's like, no, you leave her alone. You go find somebody else who wants you for you. And that's perfectly sound advice. You know, like if you gotta, if you find yourself texting somebody and they're not responding, or DM somebody and they're not responding, stop having conversations with yourself in somebody's fucking text messages. Like that's just weird, because it is. I don't care what people tell you. That's fucking weird. And it's like, I think with my coworker and like he said, he's young. He's not even, he's like 20s. He's like 27, 28. And I said, bro, it's like you gonna get into a relationship when you least expect it, bro, and it's most likely gonna change your life. You know, hopefully for the better. And if it doesn't work out, bro, it's like there's always lessons in a situation that ends, man. It's like he's like, what? I was like, yeah. It's like all a relationship is the mirror. It holds up a mirror to what you got to work on. I don't care what it is, you know. But the only way you get better at being in relationships is by actually being in them. You know, yeah. Isolation, you know, requires elevation requires isolation. Like I said in the Scorpio times Scorpio album, and it's true. You need to isolate to get better, but you also have to be actively in a relationship to see what works and to see what doesn't work. Like you don't want to be that dude who has all the answers to the fucking test but never took the test. the test being in the relationship, right? Like it's always interesting, man, because it's like I was single for the longest time before I got in, before I got in relationships, and everybody would be like, "Yo, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada." Like, how you got all this advice but you single? I was like, "Yo," I was like, "Coaches don't play," and I'm like, and it's true. I was single, like I think in between my last relationship and the one prior to that, it was like a 7 or 8 year gap. Of course, I dated around a little bit, had some fun, whatever it is, but I wasn't looking for anything, But in between those, that time period, it's like I worked on myself. I found out what worked. I found out what didn't work. I took advice from the women I was dating at the time, or seeing at the time, I should say, and I took that advice and I kind of just ran with it. You know what I mean? It's like I'm like, okay, cool. And during that time, you know, I was my last relationship. I was beginning competitive bodybuilding, and actually, no, I take that back. I started competitive bodybuilding after getting out of that relationship. The situationship I was in towards the end was in the middle of my competitive bodybuilding career, and like we kind of clicked because she was a competitive bodybuilder, so that was another aspect, right? But it was like in terms of actual relationship, no, she definitely wasn't the one, bro. But you have to take everything that you learn in a situation like that, and you have to apply it. Because if you don't apply it, then you don't learn. And like the only way, like I said, the only way you get better at something is by constantly being, you know, practicing at it. And I don't want to say relationships, are like practice, because, that's a little fucked up to say. I'm not gonna lie, that's a little fucked up to say. But I think that's a very important situation too, because like a lot of people will um put themselves in situations, or situationships, I should say, disguised as relationships, but in reality, it's not a relationship at all. It's two people, one that wants to commit, the other one who doesn't know what they want, and it's like that creates friction, that creates drama, and it's like that's something that you don't need, right? And you really don't. I don't care what people tell you. I don't care how good she looks, how attractive she is. If she tells you, or if he tells you, I don't know what I want, just leave them alone, right? Don't sit there and say, oh, yeah, this, but you're sending me mixed signals. Because I've done all that shit. It's like, okay, they're sending you mixed signals, but why are you still receiving them? Think about that. If somebody's sending you mixed signals, that means they're trying to confuse you. Why are you still trying to figure that shit out? Like let people go through their own bullshit. Let people go through their own drama, and let them figure that shit out for themselves. Because you in that equation, it's not gonna work, partner. It's not. And when I say you, I mean man and woman, man and man, woman and woman. And vice versa. It's like you don't have to work hard when you know somebody likes you, when you know they want to spend time with you. Hell, I've never been on a book date before, you know. And now Shorty's talking about telling me like, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna go to a farmer's market together. I'm like, what? I was like, because she asked me, she's like, yeah, you ever been to a farmer's market? I was like, no, I haven't. And she's like, well, okay, we're definitely doing that. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, let's go. You know, like I love the initiative. I love the fact that people are, that people take the initiative to include you in certain things, right? And for me, it's like how I look at it is it's simple, man. It's like either you find alignment with somebody, and let's just say that alignment doesn't work, and that's fine. It may have worked in the beginning. It may have worked, 2, 3 years ago, whatever it is, but now it doesn't work. Okay, cool. Like I'm gonna miss hanging out with you. I'm gonna miss doing X, Y, and Z with you, but I gotta let you go because that alignment is important to me. And if that's not being met, then it's like, what's the point? And it's true. I think a lot of people will sit there and be like, oh, well, I try to make it work, try to do X, Y, and Z. I was like, dog, it's like, you can't. is that I used to one of my good friends. I'm always telling him too because he's always dealing with these women who are like I don't want to say that they're using him, but they're using him, right? And I was like, dog, it's like, how many times can you deal with somebody and have the same conversation with somebody before you get tired of talking to them? You know? Like, you can't sit there and have this conversation with somebody, you know, and expect people to be like, oh, yeah, I get it. You know? It's like, I was watching this thing from, with Melissa Ford. And she's a former video vixen and everything, too. Excuse me. And the topic of love came up. And she was like, love is, she's like, I have a better chance of, of drawing a circle on a brick wall and smashing my head in, like in between the circle. And it's because of her history and everything that she's done and all that shit. It's like, but it's like, it makes sense, man. It's like, you have to find people who are in alignment with you. It's like how people talked about Megan Good getting divorced and hooking up with Jonathan Major a year or so later, dated for a few years. I know they married. And it's like, and so's, Good's ex-husband. And I was like, yo, like, I hate the fact that black people gotta get online and gotta compare motherfuckers. And I'm like, yo, the name of the game is alignment. That's what it is. Like, you have to find people that align with what you want, with what you have going on, and that's that. Like, it's not, oh my God, X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, it's like, you gotta find people who want to rock with you for you. It's not about who makes you look the best or who does X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, it's alignment, bro. It's about who brings out the best version of you while allowing you to work on you. And the one thing I've realized, not just in my therapy sessions, but just overall, is like, I think it's important that people understand that at the end of the day, it's also something that you have to be okay with being vulnerable. You have to be okay with exploring certain things. And you have to be okay with failing. Everybody's not gonna, they're not gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, boom, 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 boom. They're not gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, boom, 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 boom. At the end of the day, it's nobody else's job to protect your feelings, to have you understand yourself if you don't communicate that. And I think when it goes back to the beginning, what I said about my coworker, I was like, yo, it's like, you gonna find somebody, dog, but it's like, you can't go looking for it. And hopefully the kid understood what I'm saying. Because I was like, bro, it's like, and you never ever want to stop dating the other person. So. And I told him point blank too, is like, yo, and I was like, honestly, man, it's like, as great as a single mom could be, stay away from him. You know what I mean? It's like, from my personal experience and people that I've known, it's like, if they got little kids and whatnot, bro, it's like, it's most likely not gonna work out. It's most likely not gonna end up the way you want it to end up. And it's like, you kind of just have to play it by ear. But it's like, you don't want to step into somebody else's life that already has, a gang of kids, or maybe even one or two, bro. Because those kids aren't biologically yours. It's like, but you're gonna still be expected to provide for them kids, do X, Y, and Z, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that single moms don't deserve somebody else to step up to the plate, because their baby daddy didn't want to do it or whatever it is, or the only thing that I with single moms that that they should call themselves single moms is like two things. If the baby father gets locked up and he's in prison, not jail, prison, or if the father of the child dies. That's only two things that constitute somebody being a single mom. Anything else is like, if you having kids with a deadbeat X, Y, and Z, shorty, that's on you. And And I told my coworker this. It's like, man, it's like you 26, 27, bro. It's like you'll be all right, man. It's like you just have to continue working on yourself, and it's like, you know, keep working, bro. Keep working. You know what I mean? It's like put yourself out there, and then it's like because like he was telling me like in his apartment complex, you know, like they have like mahjong nights or X, Y, and Z. I'm like, bro, go do that, because I guarantee you there's somebody there that's been checking you out, bro. So I think that's the most important thing, man, is to have confidence, build yourself up, and understand that it's like, yo, it's also important that you want like that you know when to leave a situation, that you know when to leave something that doesn't serve you. And it doesn't mean that people are bad people, man. It's that sometimes certain friendships and relationships, they run their course. And it's like everybody can't go with you, dog. Everybody, they can't sit there and be like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z. No, nope, not a chance. And I think that's the most important thing, man. Is like people have they have to be realistic too, and they have to be realistic, and they have to be and they gotta understand too that people can only meet you where you're at. They can't force you to come up to their level, and you damn sure don't want to go down to their level. So do that what you will. This is about 37 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the 4 P's. Private player, positive pushing. I see y'all next week. Love y'all. And like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. All right, y'all. Peace. Happy Sunday.